I mentioned fate. Let's go back to 2020. Draft night. The Cowboys, it is a fortuitous slip for CeeDee Lamb as Henry Ruggs III is taken by Vegas. Many believed it was either going to be Lamb or Jerry Jeudy as the first wide receiver taken, and it was Ruggs. Denver went and got Jerry Jeudy, and despite the fact that the Cowboys could still be looking at cornerback, we know that they definitely were, and there were others there. You know, you did have A.J. Terrell coming out of Clemson that was taken just before the Cowboys by the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah. There was still Damon Arnett there from Ohio State. But the Cowboys went with, in one of the great all-time audio clips with you, Jeff, and Sean, of when they took CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Thus, allowing them to take a cornerback in the second round, and that being Trevon Diggs.
Yeah.
And then, Brian, you go to this past year, and they have another fortuitous moment, although it didn't seem that way at the time, right? Because the Cowboys, we knew they were eyeing Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn, and they went earlier. And now all of a sudden, oh boy, what are the Cowboys going to do? Now they say, and they should be given the credit for taking Micah Parsons, but now you look at the fact that those three players and the fate that brought them to the Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, Trevon Diggs, and Micah Parsons, and a big reason why we look at this football team now as being a Super Bowl contender, no question about it.
No, you're absolutely right about that, Ari. And sometimes the draft gods, they smile on you. They smile on you. Yeah, and you go back and, I would just go back to the Zach Martin draft. And Robert Blackwell, the video director at the time, he was in New York, had the card, had Ryan Shazier's name on a card in his pocket and ready to go. And they were going to hand in Ryan Shazier, linebacker, Ohio State. And Pittsburgh Steelers take him right ahead. So all of a sudden now it turns to plan B. You're on the clock, the discussions. The guy on your board is Zach Martin. Jerry Jones is saying, well, there's Johnny Manziel. Nobody's saying a word in the room. They're all very quiet. Finally, Stephen Jones speaks up and, we're taking Zach Martin. And that's the kind of stuff, that's fall on your board right there. But then you also you talk about the CeeDee Lamb draft. And that's why Jeff and I and Sean Sharif at the time were so surprised, because everything leading up to that draft was talking about the Cowboys taking Chase on, the defensive end from LSU. Everything was just that was it. It was Chase on. Nobody believed that CeeDee Lamb was going to get to you. And it really took Mike Mayock at the time with the Oakland Raiders. It took him having to, make that pick. Him and John wanted the vertical speed, and that's something that the Raiders have always loved. It's in their DNA. The history of Al Davis. Al Davis, yeah, that torch burns at that stadium, and Al Davis. It reminds everybody that Al is still with them, and that that's what they do. And so, it was very fortunate that it worked out that way. And the thing about it was, Terrell was taken ahead of them with Atlanta. He was never not really a consideration for the Cowboys. That was another one that did them a big favor. I mean, Terrell has played well. He played better this year for the Falcons, but that was something that they really weren't interested in. That did them a favor. That drove CeeDee Lamb to them. They were comfortable if they got wiped out. If Chason was off the board, if all their guys were off the board, they were going to be comfortable taking Diggs at 17. I mean, I was much as everybody was like, oh, no, they can't do that. They can't do that. No, they were comfortable. They said, hey, if we get wiped out, the card we're going to hand in is Diggs. And you got to give them credit. They had an idea what the player was. And then now in this past draft, you look at with Parsons, hey, there is a lot of folks, including myself. I was looking more for the tackle and then maybe the linebacker in the second round. There were a lot of people that did not like the pick of Parsons. They had a clear understanding of what he could do. And to a man, I have asked them, everyone, I'm trying to get a different, everyone said the same thing. The evaluation of the tape, we had an idea what the player was going to be, and we knew that we could work and we could win with this guy. Now,
there were not a lot out there like that, honestly.
No, there were not.
So many unknowns.
There were a lot of people that, like myself, that were talking about taking Slater and Bolton and people like that, and that's fine. Hey, that's, those picks would have been just fine. Those would have been 2 picks, but you might have got a player that is as rare as in this draft. Maybe we'll look back 10 years from now and say, wow, that was the one break. You talk about fate. That was the one break that the Cowboys, by losing those two corners ahead of him, and I believe they would have taken J.C. Horn. I believe if the two corners were still on the board, they would have taken J.C. Horn, because that's what the coaches wanted to do. Scouts wanted Surtain. Both these guys are going to be fine players. But then as a collective group, they believed that Parsons was their guy. And when it came time for them to pick, they were ready to hand that card in.
So look, we can look at a lot of different things about what this team is and what they need to do. And with the Cowboys' recent history, you got to show me in the playoffs, right? There's a very limited amount of playoff wins, but at least as far as having some good karma go their way, they have been on the good side of it when it comes to drafting. And I mean, you got to give them their credit for, as you said, following their board and doing a lot of things that way. But it was a lot of things that happened before they picked that put them in the position to be able to have what is now a unbelievably star-studded defense, which is remarkable.
Yeah, that's just following. That's not window dressing your board.
Yeah.
Putting the players where you're going to take them, and then making sure, though, you make those picks when it's your time to pick.